guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at conspiracy theories that turned out to be true.
Roswell cover-up. In the summer of 1947, an object crashed down to Earth in Roswell, New Mexico.
And I'm telling you right now, it was a UFO. Do you believe in UFOs? I feel like I definitely do. Like, I thought I seen a UFO one time, but it turned out to be a shooting star. Like, it's quite obvious there are aliens, like there has to be.
Theories that it was an alien spacecraft have pervaded pop culture for over a half a century since. The U.S. Air Force claimed that the object was merely a weather balloon, only added fuel to the fire.
I think I've actually heard of this conspiracy theory before. I don't know if I have, but I mean, let's be realistic. It's quite obvious there's aliens out there. They're being kept in Area 51.
And the conspiracy theorists were right. It was no weather balloon and there was a cover-up. But it wasn't an alien ship either. The object was a high-altitude balloon launched as part of Project Mogul. These balloons were intended to detect sound waves from Soviet atomic bomb tests.
As they claim, but you don't know, it could be an alien. I mean, we don't know. Like, you know, whenever people like make aliens up and like draw aliens, how do they depict aliens? Like, how do they know what aliens look like? Because they obviously have to know what aliens look like in the first place. Have I just heard another conspiracy theory?
During the Cold War, the US military couldn't exactly be honest about that in the papers. Now, whether you think that's another cover story...
I mean, to be fair, it could be. You don't know. Imagine if it is. Like, imagine there literally is aliens in the world. I mean, let's be realistic. The universe is big. There's obviously aliens out there.
Big tobacco's big lie. Smoking causes lung cancer and a lot of other adverse health effects. Scientists demonstrated this definitively in the 1950s. However, public opinion wavered for decades, with sources springing up to generate controversy and debate. Some suspected that the tobacco industry was suppressing and distorting the facts through a coordinated campaign.
I mean, to be fair, that wouldn't surprise me. I think a lot of people used to smoke, especially back in like 1960s. Kids could literally smoke. Like in the movies, you would see the kids smoking. Back then, people didn't know that it was bad for you, but like thinking about it now, it obviously is. I mean, if you're breathing something in which has smoke that literally makes smoke come out of your mouth, of course it's going to be bad for you. But back then, they didn't know. Like, they were told it wasn't bad.
Together, the world's largest tobacco companies initiated Operation Berkshire to generate fake controversy and debate. Big Tobacco knew that smoking caused cancer and that nicotine was addictive. They decided not to make cigarettes less harmful because addiction made them a lot of money.
Exactly, like think of it, they make billions, so like if they literally like get rid of their cigarettes or change them so that people aren't addicted to them, they're obviously not going to smoke it. I feel like that's kind of like kids with vapes. I mean, a lot of kids vape nowadays, they juul, they vape, they do all that stuff. There might not be scientific proof that like it's not bad for you, but I'm telling you in 15 years there will be.
The White Sox through the World Series. The Chicago White Sox are on record for having one of the longest droughts between winning World Series at 87 years. However, they weren't always known for their bad luck.
Okay, so I'm assuming this has got to do with sport. I'm not really that good at sport. Like, the only sport I'm good at is probably like gymnastics and trampolining.
Back in the late 1910s, the Sox won in 1917.
Oh my god, back in the 1910s, it's quite crazy to think that everyone back then is basically dead now. You know that clip we seen of all the people in that stadium? The majority of them are probably dead. 1910, that is so long ago, like 122 years. Or not 122, 112. See, my maths is so bad. But yet again, it's quite crazy to think that like all the photos are being taken now will be looked at in the future and every single person in that photo will be dead.
Back in the late 1910s, the Sox won in 1917, and they even had a wonder like Shoeless Joe Jackson on the team. Yet, rumors during the 1919 series held that the games were fixed. The White Sox lost the series, but the rumors persisted into the next year. Eventually, a grand jury found evidence that 8 players, including Jackson, though his role is disputed, were involved in a conspiracy to receive money in exchange for throwing the series.
Wait, so they were basically paid to make them lose? I mean, do you want to know something? Back in the 1910s, £10,000 is probably like 100,000 now. So they were getting paid good.
While a trial found them not guilty, they were nevertheless banned from the league permanently.
Okay, so is that the conspiracy theory? Whenever I clicked on this video, I was thinking it's going to be really creepy conspiracy theories about the government. So far, we've had one about a fake balloon and like baseball.
Nefarious agents infiltrated the government. The Church of Scientology is infamously touchy about any criticism of their organization.
I know this hasn't got to do with Scientology, but I recently watched a documentary on Netflix called The Sins of a Mother. Basically, she was part of like a certain type of church in America, and apparently they're like really culty like. In the end, she literally like took the lives of her children. It's terrifying what like religion can do to you.
Their influence over celebrities is well known, but theories about their influence over the government are also out there.
I mean, think of it, they've got lots of money. I don't think they pay tax. That doesn't make sense because why don't churches pay taxes? I mean, they're making billions in revenue. Surely they should be taxed in that.
And here's the thing. Scientologists really did infiltrate the government. In the 1970s, at least 5,000 members of the organization conducted espionage espionage on government agencies and private organizations. And this wasn't a fringe element either. The founder's wife, Mary Sue Hubbard, pleaded guilty and went to prison. It was one of the largest scale infiltrations of the US government in history.
So basically, loads of Scientology people got into the government and started changing the rules. I mean, what rules did they change? It's quite crazy how much power government has. The UK government put the whole of the United Kingdom under lockdown last year. If a government wanted to, they could completely shut the country off.
All of this was done with the aim of destroying evidence that painted Scientology in an unfavorable light. It arguably had quite the opposite effect.
I mean, whenever I hear Scientology, I usually don't hear good things, I usually hear bad things. But you wanna know, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut in case they come looking for me.
The FBI spied on political activists. Those involved in political protests and other activist causes are often paranoid that they're being watched. And they should be, because it's happened before and it can happen again.
I mean, well, yeah, if they're literally speaking out against the government, of course they're probably gonna spy on you. Especially if you're in countries like Russia, China, the Middle East. Like, out there, you don't really have the right you have in the UK or USA. You know, out there, they can literally detain you and keep you in jail for as long as they want.
From the late 50s to the early 70s, the FBI engaged in illegal surveillance, infiltration, and disruption of protest movements and other organizations deemed subversive. These ranged from independence movements to civil rights movements to feminist organizations. They even had John Lennon, the former Beatles frontman, under watch. While this program, named COINTELPRO, was abolished in 1971, others may have taken its place.
So they literally had eyes on everyone, the feminists, the activists, even John Lennon. I mean, it's probably still going on. There's spies everywhere. I don't know. I could be a spy. I could be working for the Russians.
The first female U.S. president. While the United States has yet to elect a woman to the office of president, by electoral college anyway, some theorize that a woman has assumed the duties of the office already. In 1919, President Woodrow Wilson suffered a debilitating stroke. This left him bedridden and partially paralyzed with some impaired judgment. For over a year, Wilson's wife Edith aided him in governing the country.
Okay, so at one point the president was a woman. Look at that. That's quite crazy, isn't it?
To the point where she was basically performing his job in all but name. The degree of her involvement was kept a close secret. Wilson herself denied that she made executive decisions until her death.
I mean, to be fair, back then women didn't have rights, did they? I'm really bad with history, so I don't know a lot about that stuff, but I know back in 1910 it was illegal to be gay, so it was probably like illegal for women to do stuff like that. I mean, I don't understand it. It's like these men are not terrified of anything. They're not terrified of war. They're not terrified of, you know, the country getting blown up. The one thing they are terrified is women having rights.
The government is spying on you. The common refrain for cranks and conspiracy nuts for decades has been that the government is watching our every move. And it's not completely wrong. With the rise of smartphones and the internet, the government has unprecedented access to information on its citizens.
That is true. Anything you look at online can be tracked. If you phone someone, your phone call can be tracked to your location. Every single thing you look up on the internet is like downloaded onto your Wi-Fi box, and like the people who you have your Wi-Fi from can look at it. So people who are watching this video, the people who put your Wi-Fi box into your wall and you get your Wi-Fi off, it could be BT or like an American company. I think in their offices, if they wanted to, they could go on and see what you're looking at.
In the wake of 9/11, the Bush administration initiated far-reaching mass surveillance programs, both foreign and domestic. The NSA's activities in the years since have included sucking up and storing online history, emails, metadata, text messages, you name it.
I mean, to be fair, I kind of do support that, but then it's like, you know, are they breaking our privacy? Everyone's entitled to their own privacy, but it's like, what happens if that person's up to no good? If they do that to protect us, and like it does actually protect us, then I'm fine with it. But then it's also like, yeah, I want them, like looking at everything, like what happens if I look at like a really awful photo of myself? Is there literally an FBI agent watching that?
Edward Snowden revealed a lot of this info with his leaks, including how other governments were also implicated.
Even if you send it to somebody within the United States, your wholly domestic communication between you and your wife can go from New York to London and back and get caught up in the database.
Few believe that in the time since, governments have just given up.
I mean, that's why you have to be very careful online. Don't look up weird stuff. You know, there's like been things that I've thought about, and like I thought about typing it into Google, but then it's like, if that comes up in the Google search, I am gonna get arrested. Not illegal stuff, just like, you know, like just interesting stuff, you know, to do with history, or like, you know, if something's went on in the world. The way I worded that didn't come out right. Trust me, I'm not looking at bad stuff.
False justification for war. In August 1964, the USS Maddox fired a warning shot as 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats approached the Gulf of Tonkin. After the torpedo boats opened fire, the Maddox sank all 3. 2 days later, the report of a second attack prompted President Lyndon B. Johnson to authorize further military action in Vietnam. For years, people questioned this justification. It was eventually revealed that the second attack was imaginary, based on wrongly interpreted communications intercepts.
And that is why I get so freaked out with stuff like that, because think of it. Obviously, like in the government and on all like the warships, they've got like satellites and like, you know, TVs that tell you everything that's going on. What happens if someone hacked into that server, or like there was a glitch where like it showed you that like someone was shooting a warhead at you? I read somewhere years ago that in America, I think a president got a notification that Russia had shot warheads toward their country. It turns out it was a glitch in like the system. It's so crazy how a glitch in the system could literally blow a country off the face of the earth.
It wasn't the last dubious rationale for war. In 1990, George H.W. Bush leveraged false testimony crafted by a public relations firm to initiate the Gulf War. Over a decade later, his son would falsely claim that Iraq possessed WMDs, justifying an invasion.
Notice how a lot of these things have happened from America. I mean, I think America's an amazing country, but there's also a lot of corruption going on there, isn't there? I feel like a lot of countries have really been affected badly by the Americans. Or not the Americans, but the American government. Well, anyways, that's where I'm gonna leave that video there. That is some conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're a person, subscribe button, and just I'll see you all in the next video.